On Easter Monday morning, the world woke up to shocking news from the Vatican. Pope Francis, the 266th leader of the Catholic Church, had died at the age of 88. Just hours earlier, he had appeared before thousands of faithful in St. Peter's Square for Easter Sunday celebrations. The pontiff, who revolutionized the papacy with his humility and defense of the marginalized, departed quietly, leaving a profound mark on the history of the Church. Today, we will explore the last hours of Francis's life, the age-old rituals surrounding the death of a pope, and how, true to his nature, he broke several of these traditions in his final moments. This is the story of the farewell of a leader who changed the world with simple but powerful gestures. No one could have foreseen the twist that was to come. On the eve of his death, Pope Francis was seen by thousands of Catholics being wheeled through St. Peter's Square in a wheelchair. Even though he was visibly frail, he smiled, waved, and stopped several times to bless children and newborns brought to him. His Easter message, read by an aide as he watched intently, called for peace in Gaza and Ukraine, condemning the thirst for death that plagues the world. These were his last public words, a plea for life, delivered on one of the holiest days in the Christian calendar. Hours later, at 7:35 a.m. on Monday, the Vatican announced his death. The news spread quickly, and crowds streamed into St. Peter's Square. Many wept in the streets of Rome, mourning a man who had touched millions. Jorge Mario Bergoglio's path to the throne of Peter was always atypical. Born in Buenos Aires, the son of Italian immigrants who fled fascism, he worked as a nightclub bouncer and chemical technician before joining the Jesuit order. Over time, he rose to become the first non-European pope in nearly 1,300 years, the first from the Americas, and the first Jesuit to hold the highest office in the Catholic Church. In his 11 years as pope, Francis has redefined the role of the pontiff. He has shunned the luxurious papal apartments, preferring to live in the Vatican guest house. He has washed the feet of prisoners, embraced the seriously ill, and fervently defended the poor, migrants, and the environment. His final Easter message echoed everything he stood for: freedom, compassion, and peace in dark times. The death of a pope is followed by a rigorous, age-old protocol known for its precision and solemnity. Traditionally, the Camerlengo, the person responsible for overseeing Vatican affairs during this period, calls the pope by his baptismal name 3 times. When no response is received, he officially declares his death. The fisherman's ring, a symbol of papal power, is destroyed, marking the end of his authority. The body is usually embalmed within 24 hours and put on public display in St. Peter's Basilica on a platform called a catafalco. Popes are traditionally buried in 3 coffins: cypress, lead, and oak, each representing a part of the papal legacy. But Francis, in keeping with his simple life, broke with these traditions. He opted for a single wooden coffin with a zinc lining, refused to be laid on the catafalque, and requested a modest funeral, a gesture that reaffirmed his principles to the very end. Even more surprising was his final choice of resting place. Instead of being buried in the Vatican grottos, as his predecessors were, Francis will be buried in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, one of the 4 main papal basilicas in Rome. The decision reflects his personal devotion to the Virgin Mary and his desire to remain close to the people even after his death. Located in the heart of the city, the basilica is accessible to all, a perfect symbol for the Pope, who always said that the Church must go beyond its walls and reach out to the marginalized. This final gesture, perhaps more than any other, sums up who Francis was: a leader who served, a man who chose the path of humility and who lived each day with his eyes on those who suffered most. When his death was announced, world leaders spoke out, regardless of creed or political conviction. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that Francis had touched millions with his humility and love for the disadvantaged. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said she had been privileged to be his friend and recalled how the Pope had asked the world to find the courage to change direction. US Vice President J.D. Vance, who had met with the pontiff just hours before his death, expressed his condolences to the millions of Christians around the world. The Archbishop of York, Stephen Cottrell, described Francis as a man of God, humane, witty, and good to be around. The world mourns the loss not just of a religious leader, but of a man who knew how to touch hearts in a universal way. In the coming days, the College of Cardinals will meet in Rome to begin the conclave, the secret process of electing a new pope. After 9 days of mourning, the cardinals will enter the Sistine Chapel and remain in isolation until 2/3 of them agree on who will be the new pontiff. When the decision is made, white smoke will rise from the chapel's chimney, and the traditional phrase, Habemus Papam, will be heard in St. Peter's Square. The new leader will face the enormous challenge of succeeding a pope who transformed the church and the world's perception of it. Francis, until his last words, was the voice of the vulnerable, a champion of peace, compassion, and change. His departure during Easter and the Holy Year adds profound symbolic weight to this already solemn and historic moment. If you found this coverage enlightening and want to continue following this unprecedented transition in the Vatican, subscribe to our channel now. Your like and comment will help this video reach more people with information that really matters. Share this content with friends and family who want to understand what went on behind the scenes of this unique moment in history. And if you want to go even deeper, our members have access to exclusive content, interviews with Vatican experts, historical analysis, and real-time updates straight from Rome. Click Become a Member and join us for this special coverage. We are just beginning to tell the story of a transition that will resonate for generations. This is Storybox, live from Vatican City.